So let's talk about sin. So again, sabi dito, 5 Stages of Sin by Pastor Colin Smith, and very, very short but very powerful. We'll go back to the carrier story verse. So it's James chapter 1, verse 12 to 15. Sabi dyan, but we're focusing on 14 and 15 right now. So we took it from our carrier story. Sabi dito, but each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Remember, James, the brother of Jesus, wrote this epistle to the Jewish Christians. So primarily, ang kanyang kinakausap ay mga born-again believers, those people who have already received Christ as Lord and Savior. So that's the primary audience that this letter is delivered to. So ibig sabihin, kahit tayo yung mga Kristiyano na, we have that tendency to be tempted. Halimbawa, Kristiyano ka, pero ikaw may evil desire kang makipagchismisan. So ano mangyayari sa'yo? May lumapit sa'yo, nag-share ng chismis, indulge ka na sa chismis. Let's say Kristiyano ka, tapos mahilig kang maging tawag dito, maging rebelde. So what happens to you? So may mga ka-empleyado kang lumapit sa'yo, nag-complain about the organization that you are working, at nakisakay ka naman because that's your evil desire, that's your evil tendency. Halimbawa, ikaw, you are you are a parent, you are a wife, you are a husband, pero feeling single ka. And you neglect your relationship with your husband or your wife or your children. And you want to do things on your own. And somebody entices you, whether they're a believer or not, because that's your evil desire, you go and sin as quickly as you can, as fast as your feet takes you to sin. Whether that is a person you are sinning with, or an act, a circumstance, or a practice, a vacation, I don't know. But your feet scurry towards sin instead of God. Okay, ano raw nangyayari? Then after desire is conceived, okay, you have that evil desire, nag-conceive siya, di ba? Going back to that, di ba, yung you have the tendency na makipagchismisan. Kaya nga mga Christian, sabi nga ng Panginoon di ba, napakaliwanag. Huwag tayong mag-indulge in godless chatter. No, we should not do that. And it's not glorifying kay God. And it's not supposed to be a practice of believers. Sabi nga, di ba, our tongue have the power of life and death. Ano ang lumalabas na kapangyarihan sa dila mo kung ikaw ay nakikipagchismisan? So yun, di ba? May gusto mo makipagchismisan, nakipagchismisan ka na, birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death. So ngayon, hindi mo na mapigilan sarili mo. You have lost that self-control. Satan has a foothold and stronghold sa dila mo, sa puso mo, sa utak mo. You love talking about other people. Because that's your, that's your go-to feel-good thingy sa buhay mo. Kasi lalo na kung malungkot ka, you would like to talk about other people, and then you commit sin in the process of gossiping. And eventually what? It gives birth to death. First and foremost, spiritual death. And what happens? Your ministry dies. Your calling dies. Though your calling and gifting is irrevocable, it dies with you until you die physically. So ano raw ang 5 stages of sin? Sabi dyan, sin begins with evil desire. It pulls at your soul, it entices you. Remember, soul is, in this context, your heart and your mind, yung philosophy mo, belief system mo, tsaka yung emotions mo. Next, evil desire conceives, di ba? Ano na siya, di ba? You're pregnant of that evil desire. It gains the consent of the will. So what happens? When it gains consent of the will, hinawakan na ang will mo. Kapit niya na yung will mo. So ang will mo is to sin. Okay? Ulitin ko, your will becomes to sin. Next, sin is born. Okay? It has its own life. Hindi life, sorry. It has its own life, and no sin is an end in itself. So buhay na yung kasalanan sa katawan mo, sa isipan mo, na andyan na siya, di ba? Ang nakakatakot dyan, di ba? Lumalaki ang kasalanan. Sin grows. Unless it's cut from source, it will keep growing. Palaki ng palaki, ng palaki, ng palaki ang kasalanan. I was talking to one of my disciples at sinasabi niya sa akin niya, ang hirap bumalik kapag matagal ka nang hindi nagdibo. Okay? Ang truth to that, hindi naman mahirap bumalik according to scriptures. But when you are weighed with sin, you actually move in the flesh. You feel bad, you feel guilty, you feel condemned, and that all is part of human nature. But the nature of a believer would always look into scriptures and lift themselves up based on the truth of the scriptures. Because ang sabi ng Panginoon, just come back to me. Draw to me and I will draw near to you. Because that's how God operates. And sin takes you from that truth. Because what you believe now is a lie, dahil hindi ka na nagbabasa ng scriptures. What you believe is what you feel, what you believe is what you think, and everything now becomes relative. Depende na lang kung paano mo unawain. So, the truth is not the truth anymore because it becomes relative to you, depende sa perspective mo. And the last, sin produces death. That's why there are a lot of believers, I hope that you are not this type of believer, mamamatay na hindi nila na-fulfill ang calling nila. Mamamatay o namatay na hindi nila nagamit ang gift nila. Dahil pinili nila ang pleasures ng mundo. Kaya sin actually entangles a person, sucks the life out of them, yung spiritual life nila. They stop doing ministry. They stop praying. They stop talking to believers. They stop meeting their disciples, they stop reading the Bible, they just stop, okay? Para silang, alam niyo yung, addict, diba? Addict sa game, hindi na makaalis. If you're addict sa game, if you're addict sa porn, any form of addiction, because that becomes your main focus going forward. So you cannot get out of sin because you believe you cannot get out of sin. Next week, pag-uusapan natin how to overcome sin. But this is how sin operates. And this is how the devil uses the evil desire that the devil knows every child of God has. Diba? It can be ambition. It can be usually it's pride eh. Yung gusto mo magyabang, gusto mo may mapatunayan ka, tigas ng ulo mo, sinabihan na nga ito yung payo sa'yo, kulit mo, diba? Ang ginawa mo pa rin yung gusto mo. Pagkatapos mong gawin yung gusto mo, ngayon nalaman mong palpak, mali. Diba? Ang mahal ng matrikulang binayad mo can be the loss of opportunity, can be the loss of income, it can be the loss of years, it can be the loss of something very, very valuable. I don't know. Pero that is sin. Kaya nga pag nagpayo sa iyo ang isang mature Christian, pakinggan mo because that person is a representative of God. At ang dinideliver niya sa iyo yung mensahe ng Panginoon. Kaya wag kang pumalag. Pakinggan mo at bigyan mo ng merit yung sinasabi niya. Kasi kung susundin mo ang payo mula sa isang makadiyos, diba, na kapatiran, madadala ka sa tamang landas. Hindi ka na magkakamali, hindi ka na magbabayad ng matrikulang napakamahal dahil sa kapalpakan mo na ayaw mo makinig dahil punong-puno ng kayabangan ng utak mo. And that is pride. And commonly what happens, especially when sin is at that growth stage, kadalasan ang nakakakilabot, yung nagkakasala, feeling niya hindi siya nagkakasala. Yung nagkakasala, akala niya okay lang ang kanyang ginagawa. Yung nagkakasala, ang tingin niya sa sarili niya, tama pa siya. At i-justify niya ang lahat ng ginagawa niya by the proverbial cliche. Wala naman akong sinasaktang ibang tao. Wala naman akong ginagawang masama sa kapwa ko. Akala mo lang yun. Dahil sa mere fact na hindi mo sinusunod ang Panginoon, you are hurting yourselves and you are hurting others. Mag-reflect ka ngayon. If you are in that situation, reflect. Kausapin mo yung mga taong malapit sa iyo. Kausapin mo sila. Asawa mo, anak mo, nanay mo, tatay mo, discipler mo. Kausapin mo sila. Tanungin mo sa kanila, ano ba ang katingin yung ginagawa ko? Ano ba na-observe nyo sa akin? Kung kaya mong tanggapin ang feedback, you talk to people. Talk to people who cares for you. So that you may be able to audit yourself if you are in this level or stage 5. Na parang cancer yan eh. Diba? Sometimes, diba ang cancer, nakaka-recover pa rin siya. Diba? It's true. And in sin, you can overcome and recover from sin. And we'll talk about that next week. But that is the truth. And it is something that is very, very powerful.